If you had 5 extra hours, how would you improve camp?
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
Running camp comes with enough moving parts. UltraCamp keeps registration, payments, and communication in one place so you can spend less time juggling systems and more time building an incredible camp experience. Learn more at ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker.
If you're still making camp schedules and spreadsheets, you know how draining it is and how often mistakes slip in. Enter Camptivities. It's made by camp people for camp people to save time, cut errors, and make camp run smoother. Be the change your camp needs. Explore smarter scheduling today at camptivities.com. Hello, Camp Mavericks, and welcome to the Camp Hacker podcast, brought to you by UltraCamp, Whereabouts, and the Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic. My name is Chris Hudson, and I am a summer camp consultant dealing in issues of diversity, equity, inclusion, leadership, and more.
And I am Travis Allison. I'm also a summer camp consultant specializing in helping camps reclaim their staff time, build resilience, and reignite their purpose.
I love that. I love that so much that that's what we're going to talk about today, Travis. We're going to talk about it today. Some of you may know that the same Travis Allison who wrote the Resilient Camp Directors Guide is the same one that you hear on this podcast. And we're going to talk to him about what he's put out, Less Overwhelm, More Impact, a Resilient Camp Directors Guide. First of all, and we'll get into this. Congratulations. This is awesome. This is awesome. Just so you know, just everyone's listening, it's awesome. But let's just start off with how did you come to this? Like, what did you observe or what were you feeling that you're like, you know what? I feel passionate about writing down how camp directors can improve their systems and their environments. What led you to this?
The biggest thing for me, and this is an ongoing pattern, but the biggest thing for me was noticing that camp directors were so overwhelmed and overworked that they were unable to consider the things that would make their lives better. Like they couldn't find enough space in their day or all the things going on to consider something new at their camp, that even if they knew that that thing was better. And I had people say that to me. Like, I am too overwhelmed to sign up to do stuff with you because I'm so overwhelmed. And it has nothing to do with the fact I deeply understand that you can help make our lives better here at camp. And so because my kind of consulting is not staff training, which every camp will spend on, mine is around the back end and administration and management and obviously marketing and communications. People have been unable to consider doing this because it's not something they're super comfortable with. And, expanding on all those other things that I could do. So I thought, what can I do to get people to a space where they can, A, enjoy being a camp director again, and B, give themselves, their staff, time and space to think big picture and really focus on the purpose of their organization.
So what I love about this is that the start small thing. So, because you're right, everyone's overwhelmed, right? Even I'm overwhelmed and I'm like, I don't know where to start. I look at a to-do list and I'm like, all this would be great. There's no way I can finish it before the summer, right? So what's the smallest change? Like, how do you enter the cycle of change? How do people get in there? Because it's got to be, it starts little, right? You talk about that.
It does, absolutely.
So what is it?
And I will say that the easiest way to start to notice a difference instantly is actually not a thing built into this system, but it's a tool I've talked about on here. Mm-hmm. The easiest way to make your day go faster and smoother and have more space and time is to change how you interact with your computer. If you build a habit of doing speech to text on your computer, you instantly type up to 3 times faster than you could type. And so you have all the time that you spend in a day. And we deeply, deeply don't understand how much time we spend typing things until you start to realize that, oh, my email inbox is empty. Like that never happens. I'm caught up. And I have been able to do that by using apps that have come out, this AI generation of apps. Whisperflow is the one I've mentioned on here before. That gives you space. So
Mhm.
imagine looking at an inbox and not seeing a zillion things to deal with, or seeing a new email that before I would have put off for a week. It's like I gotta look up something and I gotta figure out how to answer this person. And if I
Mhm.
can just talk it, have the AI make it neater, then I get more time and space, and that's out of my brain. It's no longer in the back of my head. Oh yeah, I've got to respond to Chris what he sent to me, and
Mhm.
so that's the smallest step. Other than that, there's lots of sort of just habit building that goes into this.
So you jumped ahead to technology. I was ramping up to that.
Okay,
And we are going to talk about it because I think the AI and tech piece that you're introducing is massive and there's also massive resistance. So we'll talk about that in a second.
great.
But looking through this, right?
Yeah,
What I love about this in the beginning, it's all about like short steps, right? Like, what's it? Camp Common 15 minutes a day,
yeah,
right? Like 90-second cost of inaction audit, those sorts. I love it because it already advertised that, hey, you can do this quickly. Particularly the path framework, which I'm gonna rip off. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm using this all the time with the people I
good.
work with. Can you just introduce it to people? How that
Yeah,
might
so
be helpful? Yeah.
path is for evaluating a problem or a decision that you have to make,
Mhm.
and it is purposely designed. I purposely designed it so that it's as campy as possible while giving you logic to make a logical decision. And so, if you're considering a change, you're going to first ask yourself, what do we have to protect about our camp, about this activity, about the way we do this thing? What is essential to that we must keep? And by picking that little kernel of must protect, you open yourselves to some of the other things, considering other parts of it that you haven't necessarily considered before. Amplify, what do we need to do more of in this situation? What do we need to pull from other stuff that we do and apply it to this situation? What do we need to trim? That's all the stuff that you didn't say in protect stage. And then the most campy, and I think probably the most important step, is how do we humanize this? How do we make it easier for people? How do we make it easier for staff to fill in an application or to send us back their forms? Or how do we make it easier for a parent to say, I have a question and I'm really worried about my kid at camp? And so, considering all those things, you're looking at how does the human interact with this? Because I say systems, and I know that a lot of camp directors just stop listening, but the system gives you the power to be more campy.
So when you talk about systems, because different systems at camp,
Sure.
right? Because
Yep.
you mentioned sort of like the parent communication system, right?
Yep.
We have a system around communication, how we interact with the parents. There's other systems like staff supervision and stuff like that. Which system do you think, let's gossip. Which system do you
Sure.
think camp directors have the most problem with? Like if we split it out, actually, I'm not going to split it out for you. You tell me what you think.
Well, I think camp people in general, not all of them, but I think camp people in general are uncomfortable with using technology in a lot of
Yes.
things. I think it's because we got into this touchy feely industry and people are proud of that and focus on humanizing things.
Mhm.
But I think to their detriment, they don't consider what other tools or things that they can incorporate.
Mhm.
So I think people waste entirely too much time in the way that they communicate with parents. I think people waste an incredible amount of time and energy around staff hiring that
Speak on it,
doesn't have
Travis.
to
Yeah.
happen.
Hmm.
And if you set up a system around those things, you're not starting from scratch every year. You're not getting to January 1 and saying, oh crap, I got to get 10 more
Hmm.
counselors or I got to get 50 more campers. The system just runs. Like we revise it in September and we push play.
Hmm.
And those things alone, we need the time, Chris. We need the time to do the interviews and to
Yes.
talk amongst our team about who's the best choice. But we don't need to spend time on how we describe our camp in such a way that would be appealing to somebody who's never worked at camp before.
I want to talk about, I do want to talk about the technology because this is also my fascination. Because I
Yeah.
know you've done so much with AI and you talk about all the time how it streamlines things. However, at the same time, I'm out there in those camp streets. People aren't using a lot of technology. I don't know why. Maybe it's just sort of like the culture of camp, sort of like the DIY of it all. But like and I consult with a lot of camps. Very few of them are using technology to make their lives better. What's your pitch? What's your pitch?
Well, my pitch is use whatever tools give you time and energy to care more. And I think you care a lot. I think everybody cares a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but it gets pushed down by just getting stuck in answering a whole day worth of parent emails,
Mm-hmm.
many of which you've answered exactly that same question 15 times this month and 100 times last year. Like
Mm-hmm.
using the tools to shortcut all that gives you the space to hang out and with staff and get to know somebody new before you hire them. It just gives you space to do your campy best. Why you got into this industry, all I want to do is clear the deck so you can do that stuff.
I I hear that, and this is an easy sell for me. But and I've heard this. I just want you to react to this. I've heard this.
Yeah.
Some
Yep.
people feel like, well, the parents are expecting a kind of hand-holding, and that's part of the service that we're giving. And they
Yeah.
feel a kind of way about automated responses, even though it may not be automated, like computer generated responses, people feel like they're not doing their job, right? People feel like using it to write copy or something like that feels
Mm-hmm.
canned. Like that's really, if you had to make a pitch to those people, that's it, because that's the resistance that comes through. People think that this isn't a tool that we can use because it's not part of our brand. And by, I mean, big B brand is like camp.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you say to that? I heard this.
Sure. Well, and I agree. The piece that I would like people to consider is if what you're writing feels canned to you, it will feel canned to parents, but you will be more sensitive to it than they are. But it is 15 minutes worth of work to create an AI system that sounds just like you. It's based on all the emails you've sent over time. And
Mm-hmm.
so you can just go in with an outline of an idea of things you want to tell parents. We are announcing this year that our cabins will be put on tank tracks and your kids will be able to move from place to place on site. And so you just put your ideas in there and it'll kick it back out in your language.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't have to spend the time on that. I want you to have the time to handhold parents.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing it right now. Lots of people are putting that aside because they're so stuck on this has to be hard for me to feel like I'm being a good camp director. And they're
Mm-hmm.
missing out on the chance to talk to parents who are concerned or answer a staff member who's, you know, thinking, well, I know I said yes to this job, but now I'm not too sure if it's the right choice for
Mm-hmm.
me. Like you can just be like, okay, I can put stuff down and deal with this person in a personal and humanizing way because I have time for that. Well,
Agree.
I've talked about it quite a lot this season about what it means to be a camp director who's so guilt driven that
Yeah.
they will take on stuff that is unnecessary because they feel like it's expected of them. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give you the tools,
Mm-hmm.
the systems that will give you time to deal with the important stuff that requires a human touch and get stuff off your plate. Parents, in every interaction with the organizations that they send their kids to and the sports they send their kids to, get
Mm-hmm.
canned emails. Yours can be better looking, better formatted, more attention grabbing,
Mm-hmm.
and still automated. But they're not judging their kids' soccer camp or their kids' judo class because they get an automated email. Now,
And a lot of
we
people
ask
might be
parents to
getting,
put a lot of trust in us that you don't
mm-hmm.
necessarily have to do to take your kid to judo every Thursday afternoon. But yeah,
I
but
imagine that a lot of
be the hand
people,
holder, not the person who's farting around with drafting emails.
and you're probably getting a lot of AI generated emails anyway that you don't know are AI generated. Like that's how good it
Yep,
is now,
100%.
and so I think that's one thing. When I was looking over this, Travis, I feel like, I'm both a camp director and a consultant, right? So
Mm-hmm.
reading this, I have to say, as a consultant, it reads easier to me because as a camp director, listen, like you said, like, in September, build systems. September,
Yeah,
everyone's exhausted. And we swear to God that we're going to clean things up in January. January comes and, oh, it's time to do the hiring and
we're rolling downhill.
registration. And then we've lost the time. And at that point, directors feel like, well, we can't change horses midstream, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to those people? I know what you're going to say because I read the book. But what would you say to those people?
Well, for me, the most important part of that, Chris, is you never change everything all at once. And you start with the small pieces. A part of this is just developing a muscle of looking for things that feel like a waste of your time or observing the things that don't use your best skills. And any part of the job that doesn't use your very best skills is actually a waste for your camp for you to spend time on that. So if you
Mhm.
can get that stuff out of the way so you can be the person who knows every camper's name and greets them all by name when they arrived, that to me is perfect. But you don't have to
Mhm.
change everything to get there. Always start with the smallest things. You look for the things that bug you that feel like a waste of your time and talent, and you just say, how do I make this a little bit better?
5% better, right?
Well, the model that I love is the 2 second lean from a guy who runs a company called FastCap, Paul Akers. And so his company culture is that you're expected every day to make that company 2 seconds better.
Hmm.
And it's such a small bite that you could have your on staff do that. You could have your seasonal staff do that. You could have kids be empowered to do that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And all of those 2 seconds add up and multiply. And
Hmm.
so your camp can be noticeably better between one season and the other. And your camp can be noticeably better, smoother. People feel more cared for from the first day of camp to the last day of camp.
I find that your book runs counter to a lot of books similar to this that I've read. Because usually what every time I try to like improve systems and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and I look up tools, usually it's like start with the biggest thing first,
Right.
right?
Take the
Start with
biggest
the
bite.
hardest, most difficult task first.
Yep.
And you're coming at from a different angle. You're like,
Yep.
it can be tough, but it has to be small. And I love
Mm-hmm.
that. I love that. Because that's always the barrier to entry for me. I was like, listen, I know we need a new hiring module. I just to tear it all the whole thing down just feels so it feels like too much. So I
Yep.
love the start small. I love the way that you start small. That wasn't a question. I was just giving you feedback. I love that.
Yeah.
My question, and the question I do have
Yeah.
is that you talk about resilience. You talk about three kinds
Mm-hmm.
of resilience in the book: community, financial, and
Operational.
thank you. You should know. Financial, operational, community resilience. First of all, can you just talk about what those are real quick? And then second, my question is why? Like if someone builds those safety nets, what are some of the outcomes? Let's talk outcomes for these people because everyone wants to know what's possible.
Yeah. By implementing this stuff, by developing this kind of mindset and these small practices, you make yourselves better in these three areas. And my idea is that we know ACA has developed a list of I don't know what they call them, like 14 areas of running a camp, the different areas. And for me, you can put them into those three buckets. So
Mhm.
financial is how much money you make or how much money you spend, basically how much you have at the end of the year. For some camps, it's how much you raise. Operational is the day-to-day things that are your big cost. This includes staffing to me. This includes repairs and maintenance. It includes how much you have to pay for licensing and insurance, all that stuff. And then
Mhm.
community is just the best of camp. Like, how do we keep families trusting us? How do we become a place that staff want to tell their friends you need to work at camp this summer? And so those three lenses just allow, again, I want you to break problems into small pieces. And so instead of we need to fix camp, we're like, what can we do this week that makes our camp community closer, brings them together? Or what can we do this week that'll mean that our staff spends like 6 hours a week in the summer less doing town runs?
Mhm. For
And
sure.
so thinking about those things, you just find again little pieces because momentum's incredibly important. And I think that's just a thing from having an ADHD brain is that I understand anything take the biggest bite first is exactly the wrong thing for the way my brain works. I
Mhm.
know that momentum works. And even if you don't have an ADHD brain, you can find momentum in these things by slowly developing the culture of what can I make a little bit better today.
And I really hope people listen to that because like we can make camp better. we can make camp better if you have the right tools, and you don't have to pause camp for a year to do it. Because, like you said, you don't have to change everything at once, which I think comes up with people like, well, if I change the hiring module, then we have to change this, we have to change that. Calm down. Like, just
Yep.
calm down. And I feel like every page of your book is like that. Just calm down. I think we can do it. I have a couple more questions, but can you talk about what 1 minute SOP is? I love this.
Sure. So standard operating procedure. I used to be a firefighter, so this is just kind of how I learned to think.
Mhm.
This is how we do a thing to do it the best. And standard operating procedures should change all the time,
Mhm.
but there needs to be a first recording. It is a big problem of our industry that we have camp directors who own the whole way camp runs in their brain. And if they leave, they get sick, whatever, then camp can't continue in the same way because they don't have all the things. And that's as dumb as we don't know where the water shot off us to the farthest cabin away. And it's, I don't know who our insurance broker is.
Mhm.
So if you build a habit, build a culture of spending 1 minute, like here's the thing I do all the time. Somebody else wouldn't know how to do it this way. I can even do a quick screen recording and show them how I do it. If it's a computer thing, if it's something outside, just leave yourself a voicemail. Then take the text of that and put it into a little bit of a format. And if you build that library, you can have things, first of all, because it's like the scientific method, you have a thing that you're testing against now. We
Mhm.
wrote down the standard operating procedure. Now we can test to see if there's a better way to do things. But for the longevity of camp, for the betterment of the campers you serve, all of the information is available to people on your team. It's not locked in your brain.
I love that. That's okay. That's so cool.
So that's pure resilience. Our
Yeah.
camp is more resilient because we're not relying on one person to
Mhm.
know all the things. We're not relying on one person to start all the things. My gosh, that drives me crazy.
Mhm.
If you build the procedures and the systems, then other people can start a job.
If you're still building camp schedules and spreadsheets, you know how much time it eats up and how easily mistakes sneak in. Camptivities changes that with scheduling software that saves hours and ensures every camper gets the experience you promised. Whether it's group or camper scheduling, different schedules every day, or you just want to break your own rules to give a deserving camper a popular activity, Camptivities handles it all. With auto scheduling and over 70 easy to use reports, you'll reduce errors, keep staff happy, and run a smoother program. Be the change your camp needs. Start today at camptivities.com. Don't wait until the new year. Now's the time to find a better way to schedule and save 15% for the first year. We'd love to show you the next big thing in camp. Visit camptivities.com to set up a time to chat. Let us help you get away from your desk and back out to camp.
Exclusive for CampHacker listeners, grab UltraCamp's free guide, The Parent Experience Checklist. Practical steps to simplify registration and keep families coming back. Download at ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker. Parents don't want clunky processes, and you don't want constant phone calls. UltraCamp helps you simplify registration with mobile-friendly forms, offer payment plans that work for your families, reduce calls and emails with automated reminders, and keep parents engaged with built-in communication tools. UltraCamp helps you create smooth, stress-free parent interactions so your team can focus on camp, not customer service. Learn more at ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker.
You know what, though, Travis? Everything you're suggesting requires a level of organization that I think some camps lack. When I really, and I say this all the time about professionalizing our profession, it's not like it's corporate speak in here, but some of
Yeah.
the ideas here are very much about aspiring to a level of organization, like I said, a lot of camps do not currently enjoy. So, and I know this is such a log rolling episode, right? You talking about your book on your podcast, I get it, but if someone like me, right? Not someone like me because my camp is incredible, but like someone else who was like, listen, all these tools are fantastic, but we'd have to build up to be able to use this stuff. What would you say to them to not necessarily sell the book because yeah, everyone buy the book. Let's just get past that. Everyone buy the book. But like, what would you say to them? Be like, no, this is for you.
First of all, as I've said a lot in the last few years, I am and was a camp person with ADHD.
Mhm.
So nothing is tidy in my life outside this door. Things are very tidy. In the one room that I have total control of, things are not tidy. And I have whiteboards sitting on the floor with stuff scribbled on them there. Like, I'm not a tidy person, but I can get more done all the time because I'm constantly thinking, how do I make this a little bit better? And so, yeah, everybody, like most camps I know are kind of a mess. Like, I think it's probably like 10% of camps I've been to, and you're like, whoa, this is like everything is exact.
Mhm.
And most camps are somewhere on the spectrum
Mhm.
between the inside of my office and the perfect little movie camp setup, ready to film at.
I love it. I love it. Okay, I've got one more question.
Mhm.
One more question. We've talked about some things in the book, like the 1 minute SOP path. If someone's listening to this, and people are, that's what the metrics tell us. People do listen to this. Someone listening to this, what can they try right now? What would, if you had 2 minutes, what would you tell them right now? Like, do this and you're going to see results. What is it?
Same thing as I open with. Learn to talk to your computer instead of typing to it. It will save you time and give you more time and energy. If you're thinking camp wide systems, I would just look at stuff that gets repeated and started from scratch every year, like emails to parents who've reached out and said, hey, we're interested in sending our kid.
Mm-hmm.
75 to 80% of that should just be stock. Like, it should be cut
Mm-hmm.
and paste.
Mm-hmm.
And you just personalize it, put in something you heard about the kid and their interests, and away it goes. You're building trust because you have been quick to respond. We cannot be sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
And when we put off communicating back to parents because it's going to take me 15 minutes to just compose this email perfectly, then we lose a bit of trust. And I'm not going to find those 15 minutes for the next 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We lose some trust with parents because they want non-sloppy organizations to care for their kids.
That's that's the hope and dream when they drop them off to you for like 3 weeks,
Yeah,
right? That you're not going to be sloppy. I love that. And just a moment for me. I find
yeah,
it really difficult to talk to my computer. My phone is fine, but
yeah.
the computer doesn't have like a simple voice to text. And I've been looking for one. Like, just I think Windows has one built in. It's not great. But like
No.
I I'm really going to try and take what you said to heart and try and do that at my computer. Because you're right. I slot off an hour a day to do emails and I get through like four of them, honestly.
Yeah, yeah,
Honestly.
yeah. The So I would encourage you to do that. The one that I use is simple. I just double tap one of the buttons on my keyboard. It starts listening. I tap it again and it writes what I did. So there's got to be something like that for Windows because the
Sure.
AI engine that does this is open source. So there
Sure.
must be a Windows
Oh,
version.
no, I'm sure there is, and there is a
Yeah.
Windows version. It's just that I want one that really works. And to be fair, I didn't give it much of a chance, but
Yeah. And
if
it's changing all the time.
yeah,
I
and
first tried to do this 15 years ago, and it's only this year. Like, I keep coming back to it because I knew it would be a difference for me. So
I
that's
like
what I would
that.
do. It will make a difference in the amount of time you spend doing things. And you get to
I-
be more thoughtful and creative. So
I'm
for
gonna
me,
I'm
I
gonna
just
start doing that
want
now.
camp directors to understand that feeling of so much overwhelm from feeling like I can only focus on what's in front of me, I can only focus on the fire that is here.
Mhm.
You lose the ability to make the impact. That's why you became a camp director. This is why so many people left our industry since 2021,
Yeah.
because they just burned themselves out to save their camps. And
Mhm.
you don't have to feel like this to be a good camp director. I'm going to say that again. You don't have to feel like this to be a good camp director. And so, if that's you, you're probably running a camp on willpower and just how much you can physically hold together and emotionally hold together instead of stuff that's repeatable and you're just exhausted. And so, if you start small, you start with one simple thing that's going to save you an hour this week. You add in something else next week that's going to save you 30 minutes. And now you got an hour and a half back in a week. And the next time it might be 5 minutes, and the time after that might be 3 hours or 12 hours this year. So
Mm-hmm.
you go from feeling like all I can do is survive this day to feeling like you're leading with purpose. You can see the future, you can think big picture, and you never lose your mission, your purpose to this busy work again, because you've been intentional about finding little pieces to make better and giving yourself the break.
Honestly, work. That was also that was that you know what? And that's where we end. I love that, Travis. Hey everybody, being sloppy is not cute in our
Yes.
profession, in any profession. It's not cute. Despite what like TVs and movies would have you believe,
Yeah.
like we
Yeah.
can run crack organizations that have strong systems with people who are very organized. It's just, I feel like the culture is that, oh, we're just throwing these camps together. No, we're not. No, we're
Yeah.
not. And so thank you, Travis. That was awesome. So now I guess it's time to move to tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
I want you to go first. I want you to go
I
first.
will. I'm really excited. I can't believe I waited this long to say this. So an AI tool, Notebook LM, built to help people study. But lots of businesses and organizations are using it to store information, to make it searchable and easy to find. I started talking last spring about putting your staff manual in there so it'll automatically create a podcast for you. Here's the use I'm going to recommend. Make yourself a camp director coach. Take in all of the information that you can, put it in there, and then make it searchable. What I mean directly is I have a business coach that I've created. I've taken almost 400 business books and thought books and all these things about how to be a good leader and put them into my Notebook LM. And then when I'm stuck on a problem, I just ask it. So this is my coaches. Here's the problem. How would you recommend, based on all the sources that are there, that you do this thing? Or here I've written a new something, a new part of the Resilient Blueprint operating system, and using all of the sources, evaluate this and give me suggestions and grade the sections.
Wow.
And it just
It
pulls
does all
it
that?
all together and gives me like all of these big suggestions. Because I've put together people that I trust. Now, for each book, what I've done is I've created a little repeatable prompt. When I find out a book that's highly recommended, I will just put that prompt into ChatGPT and have it give me a detailed enough summary, try to pull in any YouTube videos or podcast interviews that author's done on that book. And that all becomes a piece of it. If there was a world where I could buy a physical book and get a PDF copy, then all of the PDF copies would go in there. So whenever I can do that, I do, but that's pretty rare with the way the book market is. But I do have more than one source on what makes this book good and useful. And then I combine that with about 325 other books.
I'm mad I just found out about this. I was just looking at the website. This is really incredible stuff. Okay, awesome.
Well, why don't I will share with you and I'll share with everybody, we'll put it in the show notes, the prompt that I use when I know the book and the author. And I know it's been recommended. I've seen it on a couple of podcasts. I put in the book and the author prompt. It spits out a usable summary that goes into this.
Love it. God, that's so good.
What's your tool?
What's my tool, you ask? Well, I don't care what you think about this, listener, but my tool of the week is Less Overwhelm, More Impact, A Resilient Camp Director's Guide by Travis Allison. Yes, and of course I'm going to say that because he's my friend. But no, like no lie, when I was reading through this, I was like, wow, this is going to change the way that I work as a consultant. Like these tools that he's offering, they really can work if people are being receptive to it. And the amount of time, I took a ton of notes. I took a ton of notes before I got to page 20, Travis. Like it was, everything in here is so good. It's really easy to read. It's compact. It's not like you're reading the Bible or anything. And from get, you can start saving time from like the first couple of things that you read. So yeah, as a consultant, it's certainly going to help me in what I do. As a camp director, because I am an organized person, our camp is very organized. Like this would be it'd be great. Because if we could save a little bit more time, then it would be fantastic. So please get the Resilient Camp Director's Guide. You really won't regret it. You really won't. There's definitely at least one thing in here you can use if you are open to changing. If you're open to changing, you can do it. And like I said, Travis said, I'll say it again. It's not cute to be sloppy. It's not necessary. It doesn't have to be part of our profession. So check this out for sure.
Thank you. That's kind. I want to take a second before we let you know how to get in touch with us and just highlight another one of the podcasts. So I want to talk today about First Class Counselors. They are the podcast that we have made for you, the camp director, to pass on to your seasonal staff. Let Matt and Oliver and their guests teach your staff for you for free on their own time. You can go through and pick out the episodes. Our friend Lisa Drennan was on an episode recently that just came out and has had really great people reaching us to just talk about how great it is. So it would be great if you listened. I mostly just want you to pass it on to your staff because that's why Matt and Oliver built it, is to give you another tool to fill in some of the important stuff about camp.
Love it.
Chris, if people want to follow up, where do they get in touch?
They can write me, planetchris@gmail.com, or just come to my house. Part of the adventure will be finding out where I live, but I'm open to it. What about you?
Last time we recorded, you tried to give away your phone number.
Listen,
Richards used to do on the show regularly.
I'm a man of the people.
You are a man of the people. Yeah. Interested in your feedback on this show, another show. If you have questions about the Blueprint operating system, then you can reach out to me, Travis at gocamp.pro. We will, as usual, put the podcast listing the tools a week in our show notes. And you can find the link to the book, the official title of which is Less Overwhelm, More Impact, the Resilient Camp Director's Guide. So we'll put that there.
Awesome. Travis and I want to thank the sponsors of this week's episode, as well as our editor, Ryan Vandertoren, and our, again, Go Camp Pro's executive producer of podcasting, Matt Wilfred. Thanks for the evening, friends.
The Camp Hacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening. Camp Hacker, bringing your world into focus.